And to thank my colleagues for the opportunity to serve as the House Republican Conference Chair. I have prioritized listening to all members of our Republican Conference, and my focus is on unity because that's what the American people and that's what our voters deserve. I also want to thank this leadership team. I look forward to working with them in partnership, shoulder to shoulder, to make sure that we are fighting on behalf of hardworking Americans. I also want to thank President Trump for his support. He is a critical part of our Republican team. And of course, most importantly, I want to thank the voters of New York's 21st Congressional District, whom I'm honored to represent each and every day and fight for them.
All right, guys, so that is Elise Stefanik, who has replaced Liz Cheney in GOP leadership within the House. Now, this has been pretty controversial, right? Not just from the liberal media, but also among conservatives. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to address the whole Elise Stefanik thing replacing Liz Cheney, okay? Because a lot of conservatives have been critical of this move by the GOP, which Trump supports this move. But some people are saying that Elise Stefanik is not conservative enough because she came in as a moderate. And she did not really vote in line with Trump all that often. Matter of fact, she voted against the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, and she was not for the border wall, which are basically two of Trump's signature policy positions, right? So I wanted to shed some light on this situation and explain to you guys the reasons why I believe that the GOP and Trump support somebody like Liz Stefanik for leadership, even though she's not all that conservative from a voting standpoint, and she didn't really vote along with Trump either, but yet she is pro-Trump. And a lot of people are saying that she's not conservative enough. Let's talk about Elise Stefanik from a Trump perspective, right? So here's the thing. Now, again, the criticism is that although she is vocally pro-Trump, she has not necessarily voted with Trump when it comes to policy positions. Now, it's estimated by 538 that she voted with Trump about 77% of the time-ish versus Liz Cheney voting about 93% of the time with Trump. Also, Heritage Action, the conservative group, gave Elise Stefanik a score of 56% versus 91% for Liz Cheney in terms of how conservative they are. And the American Conservative Union, which is really pro-Trump, gave Elise Stefanik a score of 44% versus 78% for Liz Cheney. So a lot of you are asking, like, what's going on here? Why would Trump get behind somebody like Elise Stefanik, okay, when she did not necessarily vote in line with him as much as Liz Cheney did? Well, the answer is very simple. Although Elise Stefanik did not vote in line with Trump when it came to a lot of legislation, Elise Stefanik was there for Trump when Trump needed her the most, right? When it comes to impeachment, she picked up a lot of steam in the media by passionately defending Trump during the impeachment trial, the first impeachment trial. And then also during this past election, she stood up for Trump during that time as well. And she did not vote to impeach Trump the second time. Okay. And she has been vocal about this, right? So vocal that I think that she was elected as one of the leaders for Trump's reelection campaign in New York. Okay. So again, when it came to Trump staying in office and when Trump actually really needed her the most, she was there. Okay. That is the simple reason for why Trump is supporting this. It just is really just that simple. Okay. And I guess Trump values loyalty over voting with policy, right? It's very apparent in this case. Okay. But here's the thing. You know, in a position that Trump is in right now, Trump does need people around him that's going to stand up for him in his darkest hour. That's just what he needs. That's the position that he's in right now. So he really doesn't have a choice, right? She's been so vocal in supporting him, you know, especially, again, during times where he's needed her the most. It just makes sense for him to do this, right? For him to support her, despite her voting record, because right now Trump's not in office. It's not in office. So her voting record is not as relevant. What happened in the past. Trump's trying to create a force within the party and influence in the party moving forward into the future. And he needs all the friends and allies that he can get. That's just the end all be all to this situation. Now, let's talk about the GOP, right? Why is the GOP supporting Elise Stefanik? Why didn't they find somebody else that was more conservative? Well, the answer is simple, guys. The GOP has to expand the base, right? It's very simple. The GOP understands, and this is one of the main reasons why they want to carry forward with Trump. This is one of the main reasons why. Trump has brought in more minorities and more people from the Democrat Party and made the GOP a much more diverse party than it has been historically. Okay, the GOP is more diverse today because of Trump than at any point in recent history of the GOP. Right? So when you brought in a lot of these new supporters whom came from the Democrat Party, you have to try to keep those supporters. Okay? So when it comes to your leadership, when it comes to your messaging, when it comes to how you present yourself, the GOP is not in a position where they can win if just the base votes for them, right? The GOP cannot win if only the most conservative among us vote for the party. The GOP has to win moderates. They have to win Democrats, okay? Every single election. What determines whether or not the GOP is going to win is if they can win moderates and if they can win enough Democrats to vote Republican. That's how they win. The GOP knows that's how they win. So when you put somebody that's more of a moderate in leadership position, what that does is that it opens up the party to be more attractive towards those who are more moderate. Okay? Again, Trump attracted a lot of people from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party. Okay? He red-pilled a lot of people. Okay? A lot of people came over to the Republican Party because of Trump. The GOP wants to keep those voters, and they want to also expand the base. Now, this is super important come 2022. The reason why is because Trump's not running in 2022. Okay? So you're not going to have a ton of people that's going out to vote against Trump like they did in the last election. So if the party delivers the right message in which, Trump is a critical part of what we do and they have more moderate leadership, that's going to open up the party to have a better chance of winning in 2022. Okay? And Elise Stefanik, who's won her district in New York, again, a liberal state here. Now, she's from upstate New York, but a liberal state. She's won her district by, I think, 13 percentage points. Double digits. She's won re-election handily every single time. She has not had any trouble getting re-elected in a blue state. Okay? So with that being said, because she's more moderate, she's in a position where, again, the GOP can expand the base. Obviously, again, her being a woman has something to do with it. All those things play a factor. And I think what people got to realize when they're analyzing politics is that extremists, whether you're on the left or you're on the right, extremists don't win, right? The progressives lose all the time because they always put for extremists, right? Extremists will not win. Same thing goes with the right. If you are too far right, you're not going to win, okay? Most times, the people that win are those who are either center right or they're center left. It's the party that can grab the moderates, okay? The people who are undecided. That determines who wins elections. And the GOP realizes that. That's why they wanted to replace her with somebody like Elise Stefanik, okay? I think it signals that the GOP is trying to expand the base to win in 2022. Every move that the GOP is making right now is about 2022. And Elise Stefanik, basically for them and that strategy is the perfect messenger for that. Not just because she's a moderate, but because she is pro-Trump and she's not going to go out there and say something stupid that's going to make it so a lot of people in the base are not going to vote come 2022. Okay? What's going to hurt the GOP more is to have somebody like Liz Cheney, who, again, is way more conservative than Elise Stefanik in terms of voting. It's going to hurt them more for her to go out there and bash Trump and potentially make it so a lot of Republicans just be like, I'm not voting, than to have somebody like Elise Stefanik, who's not as conservative, very pro-Trump, or at the very least not stupid enough to speak out against Trump, go out there and say all the right things. Because most people are not really paying that much attention to the policies that people vote for. That's just the reality of it. Okay? That's just the reality of politics. So in my opinion, I'm neither here nor there with this move. The GOP is behind it. Trump is behind it. Would I like to see Elise Stefanik be a little bit more conservative? Sure. But at the same time, there is room for moderates in the Republican Party. And the Republican Party should welcome moderates in leadership to a certain extent if they're going to win. That's just how things work politically. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.